Let's move on. We have another important subject. And Joe, I want you to start off.
Senator Clinton, on the Iraq question, we're here in South Carolina. It's a big military state with a lot of military families. Last week, U.S. military commanders on the ground in Iraq said that Baghdad is now 75% secured. There's also important signs of political progress, including de-Baathification, which was basically long awaited. That, of course, was a big benchmark. Last week, you said the next president will, quote, have a war to end in Iraq. In light of the new military and political progress on the ground there in Iraq, are you looking to end this war or win it?
I'm looking to bring our troops home, starting within 60 days of my becoming president. And here's why, Joe. I have the greatest admiration for the American military. I serve on the Senate Armed Services Committee. I've been to Iraq 3 times. I've met with the leaders of the various factions. But there is no military solution. And our young men and women should not remain as the referees of their conflict. I believe what you're seeing happen is twofold. Of course, the surge, the so-called surge, was able to pacify certain parts of Iraq. If we put enough of our men and women and equipment in, we're going to be able to have some tactical military success. But the whole purpose of the surge was to force the Iraqi government to move quickly toward the kind of resolution that only it can bring about. I think what is motivating the Iraqi government is the debate in the political campaign here. They know they will no longer have a blank check from George Bush, that I will withdraw troops from Iraq. And I believe that will put even more pressure on the Iraqis to finally make the decisions that they have to make. It is not going to be easy. Withdrawing troops is dangerous. That's why I've been, working to make sure that we knew all of the various steps we would have to take, because it's not just bringing our troops and equipment home. We have more than 100,000 civilians there, working for the embassy, working for businesses, working for charities. We have a lot of Iraqis who sided with us, translators and drivers who put their lives on the line for American military forces. So this is complicated, but I'm committed to withdraw our troops and to put the Iraqi government on notice that their time is running out, and they have to make these tough decisions.
I'm going to let Senator Obama respond to, but Senator Edwards, Senator John McCain, the Republican presidential candidate, he supported the surge from the beginning. I think all 3 of you opposed the surge from the beginning. He says now the surge is working, there's military progress, the level of violence has gone down, and that the United States must not surrender in Iraq. It must win that war in Iraq. Why do you believe Senator McCain is wrong?
He's wrong because George Bush himself said the entire reason for the surge was to create an environment for political progress. Everyone, from the Iraq Study Group to even Bush, have recognized, and if Bush recognizes it, man, it's really got to be out there. And I would actually like for both of them to have a chance to respond to this. What I have said very clearly, all of us have said we would end the war. And I don't have any doubt that all of us are committed to that. I don't doubt that. But how aggressively and how quickly is an important question. And I have said in the first year that I'm president, I will have all combat troops out of Iraq, all combat missions will end in Iraq, and there will be no permanent military bases in Iraq. I have not heard, now admittedly, let's be fair, I don't hear everything they say on the campaign trail, but I have not heard either of them say that definitively. So I'd be interested in knowing whether they will commit to having all combat troops out and ending combat missions in the first year.
Senator Obama?
John, what I've said, and I've said repeatedly, is I want to be as careful getting out as we were careless getting in, but I want to make sure that we get all our combat troops out as quickly as we can safely. Now, the estimates are maybe that's 2 brigades per month. At that pace, it would be sometime in 2009 that we had our combat troops out, depending on whether Bush follows through on his commitment to draw down from the surge. We don't know that yet. But understand what's at stake here. John's exactly right that the question is, how do we create a stable Iraqi government where our troops are not required to maintain permanent bases and a permanent occupation in Iraq? We are spending $9 to $10 billion every month That's money that could be going right here in South Carolina to lay broadband lines in rural communities, to put kids back to school. And so when John McCain says we'll be there for 50 or 60 or 100 years, it is not just the loss of life, which is obviously the most tragic aspect of it. It's also the fact that financially it is unsustainable. We will have spent $2 trillion at least, it's estimated, by the time this whole thing is over. That's enough to have rebuilt every road, bridge, hospital, school in America, and still have money left over. But just one last point I want to make. We are seeing Al-Qaeda stronger now than at any time since 2001. That is a significant threat that has to be dealt with. Because we have been distracted, we have ended up being a more dangerous situation. And so we are not, this is not just a matter of who's right and who's wrong about having gone to the war or the surge. It's also how do we deal with the future threats. And as long as we're bogged down in Iraq, we are not able to deal with those future threats.
Senator Clinton, do you want to respond to Senator Edwards asking you whether you're ready to commit to all combat troops being out of Iraq within a year?
What I've said is that I will move as quickly as possible. I hope to have nearly all out within a year. We don't know what we're going to inherit from President Bush, but there is a big problem looming on the horizon that we had better pay attention to, and that is President Bush is intent upon negotiating a long-term agreement with Iraq, which would have permanent bases, permanent troop presence, and he claims he does not need to come to the United States Congress to get permission. He only needs to go to the Iraqi parliament. That is his stated public position. He was recently in the region, and it is clear that he intends to push forward on this to try to bind the United States government and his successor to his failed policy. I have been strongly opposed to that. We should not be planning permanent bases and long-term troop commitments. Obviously, we've got to rein in President Bush, and you know, I've proposed legislation, and I know that members of the Congressional Black Caucus are looking at this as well. We need legislation in a hurry which says, no, Mr. Bush, you are the President of the United States of America. You cannot bind our country without coming to the United States Congress. This is a treaty that would have to be presented and approved, and it will not be.